Say you are a pirate, tasked with going from point A to point B on a ship with a crew. We'll say in this scenario that you're the captain, but there's going to be another scenario in which you're not the captain. But you're the captain in this scenario, tasked from going from point A to point B. I'm here.
Okay, hold on. Sorry.
So yeah, tasked from going from point A to point B. However, there's a cave that you have to pass through between point A and point B, and you can't go past it. With where I'm drawing it from, maybe there is like a second choice, but that second choice is actually really risky. So we'll just say that the only choice you have from going from point A to point B, which I remind you is your objective for this voyage, you have to go through the cave. And why it makes this cave so dangerous, why I'm saying it's a sucky choice. The cave has a monster in it. That monster has 6 heads. Those 6 heads is going to try and take 1 person each from your ship. That's a total of 6 of your crew on your ship. Knowing this information, but your crew doesn't know about it, what would you do? And here are 2 questions. First, would you warn your crew, tell them about the monster, or would you keep this information from them so that they don't panic or they don't try to suggest, oh, there could be another way, even though there isn't? And second question, would you sacrifice 6 of your men so that you, your ship, and the rest of your crew can pass through the cave? Or would you try to fight the beast and risk losing potentially more men? That, my friends, is not inspired, but it's literally taken out from a dilemma from Homer's Odyssey with the Greek hero Odysseus and his ship. Granted, it's kind of different in between the interpretations of the story. Perhaps, maybe Odysseus did tell his crew that, I'm gonna use you as bait for this snake hydra thingy. I hope you're okay with that. But at the end of the day, he still kind of sacrifices the crew just so him and the ship can go forward through the cave. And that, I believe, ties into a much larger theme that coincides with not a TV show, but more like a short film that I watched today that I found really interesting. I hope I'm not the only one to make this connection, but if I do, then yay. I'm going to be posting this wherever, whenever. But anyways, connection between the Odyssey and the short film I watched today, which I think if some of you might know, it's from the popular anthology series, animated, called Love, Death, and Robots. I think the short film in question from Love, Death, and Robots is called, Bad Traveling. It involves this crew at sea. This is the second scenario I was talking about, but involves this crew at sea, also trying to get from point A to point B, but halfway through their journey, they get stuck in a storm. And during that storm, there's this huge ass crustacean looking crab monster that gets onto the ship, kills the captain and some other crewmates, and then takes residence in the ship's pantry. So what you're left with is the remainder of that crew trying to make it home safe, prioritize their own lives, even though that they literally have a monster that's going to kill and eat them on board. Okay, how am I going to say it? I don't want to try and just talk about it word for word. But I just wanted to simplify enough that you guys get the gist of it. I'd say in either scenario, okay, I'll stick with Love, Death, and Robots first, try to explain that a little bit more, and I'll try to connect the two together. That's alright with you guys, which I'm believing it is. So, first, with what happens in Bad Traveling, after the captain dies, the remainder of the crew get together, try to draw lots to see who would be the first to go down to the pantry, try to talk to the monster and whatnot, see what it wants, maybe try anything else. People draw lots, the person who tried to, we'll say it's you. You came up with the lot idea, and you found like the biggest guy to be the one that drew the shortest stick. However, the biggest guy then suggested, "Oh, how about we just make the guy who drew the lots go down to the crab?" Then he wants to suggest this like, "Oh, totally totally unfair," but it actually is unfair. It actually is fair to you and to the rest of the crew. But yeah, totally unfair system. So why don't we just sacrifice him? And the rest of the crew agreed. And so, were you not smart enough, you would have been crustacean food. But instead, you somehow were able to talk to the creature and were able to find out what it wants. The crustacean crab monster wants to get to a populated island where it's going to feast on the unsuspecting locals. Now, you could do that as you explained to your crew after you come back from the pantry. However, there's a second option. Near that populated island, there's also a set of unpopulated islands that you could drop off the crustacean crab to. And so you ask your crew, do you want to take a short voyage to the populated island? Or do you want to take a risk, go on an even longer voyage and go to the unpopulated islands so that the crustacean crab, even if it does like get off the ship, it's not going to endanger any innocent lives, right? And again, this is you. You're like constructing the lots, talking with the crustacean crab. But what happened is you try to draw like a second. What is it? It's like a voter's box, you know. Like I vote for this decision, but I'm supposed to be anonymous. You try to do something like that. What ends up happening is you find out that you're the only person who wants to send the ship to the unpopulated islands. The rest of your crew, yeah, they don't care about like the innocent people. They just want to prioritize their own lives. They don't want to endanger themselves. But knowing this information, and knowing that you're the only one who knows this information, would you just try to appease their wishes, go along with the crew, send the ship to the populated island, potentially risk innocent lives, just so you can get off scot-free? Or would you go against their wishes and try to go to the what was it? Unpopular. Would you rather go to the empty islands, the empty set of islands, so that you don't endanger any more innocent lives? Both are tough dilemmas, you know. Like, again, just a reminder, tough dilemmas being sacrifice your crew so that you can get through it, so you can get through a cave, or sacrifice your crew so that no more innocent lives will be lost. Either way, you're sacrificing your crew. And undeniably, in both these scenarios, between the Odyssey and LDR's bad traveling, you kind of put in this not bad captain, but captain role, where you have to make the decisions. You have to make the hard decision, even though it's gonna be one that your crew does not agree with. It is as they say, a crew must go down. A captain must go down with a sinking ship. But I think with these two examples, it proposes an alternative to that. A captain is gonna be selfish. He's gonna think for himself, or think of his morals first. Because at the end of the day, you know, whether it is with the Odyssey, if you're like one of the crewmates under Odysseus, or one of the crew that voted to go to the populated island, either way you're screwed. Either way, either intentionally or unintentionally, you put your lives in the hand of somebody who does not share the same values as you do. Whether it is even for your life. But I find that interesting. Shoot. Sorry, I said shoot. But I find that interesting. Sorry for being so off camera. I've just been cleaning up some stuff. Anyways. But I find that stuff interesting. Because it's not like a common theme like, oh, you know, mental illness, whatnot, what it means to live. Well, it's more like an uncommon theme, you could say. Not even seen. Almost rare. But it's interesting to me, and I wanted to share that with you guys. There's another like set of movies that I watched, and I think I could also kind of draw a relation to, because it's really nice to like think about this. I kind of find similarities in them. But yeah, if I haven't touched upon anything else already with like the pirate analogy between the captain analogy between Odysseus and bad traveling, let me know. But I'm just gonna try to recap everything. So the similarities between the two is, of course, main characters are put into a captaining role. They have to make a decision for their crew. They ultimately end up canonically making the decision that does not favor their crew. The crew try to mutiny, but at the end, the captain survives, but the crew doesn't. I believe that as with any two stories, there are differences between them. Whereas the navigator, because that's technically the main character, but the navigator in Bad Traveling sacrificed the crew so that he could preserve the lives of the many on the populated island. Odyssey just sacrifice his crew just so he can see his wife and his kid and his kingdom again. So it's not like it's exactly the same moral high ground, but you could also say that it's a matter of who has the power, of the matter who's the more cunning. Because at the end of the day, no matter how good of a relationship a captain might have with their crew, it can all come tumbling down. It can all go tumbling down in an instant. And then what happens once that trust fades and the crew wants mutiny is who's going to be more cunning, minds of many or the minds of the captain, of the one. So it's an interesting thing to ponder. First off, 2 lessons. Never be a crewmate. Or at least try and be close with your captain. That way, at least he won't try to sacrifice you to a sea monster. Second, this is very second, but specifically for Bad Traveling. Ultimately, needs of the many outline the needs of the many outline the needs of the few. It's a very interchangeable sort of scenario where it's like, yeah, sometimes it's right, sometimes it's morally right, sometimes it's morally wrong, but it's right for you. It all just depends on who has the perspective. But at the end of the day, we're just trying to look out for ourselves. There are higher callings than that, but self-preservation is always going to be part of our nature. It's nice to be altruistic, to try and prioritize the greater good. I'd say it's all a matter of opinion, whether which one's more important. Self-preservation or upholding the greater good, going beyond what your nature is, even as an animal, in order to do good. As I say, what separates us from animal is our morality, ability to think. It's our brains.